Good evening, friends. Welcome today, Tuesday, 14th of March 2017, and my fifth presentation on EHS State of the Nation, based out of my EHS survey I had sent out and the request that had come. The topic today I am covering is the EHS based auditing. This covers the risk-based approach. What I have done is I have put in my experience of doing EHS, HSC or whatever you call it, with the management system focus on the various operational aspects, and I have done about 50 to 60 audits in about 20 countries. So I am giving out how the audit is done, how the audits are worked through, and also a bit on how you can prepare for an audit so that there are no surprises. So this will be about 25-minute presentation. I would, those slides would follow, and I am very deeply thankful for all the folks for their inputs, comments, and whatever suggestions. What I request is please make this a two-way process with your thoughts, comments, so that I can also learn, and I can then prepare topics based on what you would find it interesting and value add to you. So the slides would follow, and thank you for your time and have a good day. Very good evening. This session is on health, safety and environment, EHS, HSC or whatever you call it, risk-based auditing. So this will last about 20-25 minutes, and as I said in the intro, I would cover this on the practical aspects of EHS audit. So before that, I just quickly want to let you know, sometimes people ask me, I want to do an NASA audit, I want to do DuPont audit, I want to do XYZ audit. Please note that these names, NASA, DuPont, are all proprietary trademark brand names which these companies use for, they have their own tools and they use it, and so it will be very practically impossible, to for outsiders to use those kind of systems. I mean, it's not ethically correct also. I mean, so you are infringing the proprietary and trademark thing. So what when I am asked, I tell is we have an equivalent system. I mean, naturally each brand comes with its own unique selling proposition. So it is equally covers the requirements. After all, these are all very generic standards. You lock out, tag out, or confined space, or air water permits, industrial hygiene. So based on the skill sets and expertise we bring in, we work those checklists and try to align it to a very broad generic requirement. So I want to be very clear that we deliver these kind of audits, and it will be internally ours, and we do it in a very generic way. So there is no brand name or anything. So I just want to be very clear on that. So what is the EHS audits program and how why they happen? I mean, many companies will be doing it, but it gives maturity performance of health safety systems and where you are from a compliance perspective. So you will get to know in terms of what you are doing in your standards, process, programs, procedures, various requirements. So this usually done by third party audits, like we external force service providers do, or when in corporate we have our own internal audit teams who come and do it. So this is purely risk based. We will go through those slides and verify the self assessments. This many good organizations, what they do every year, they do internal self assessments to see where they are, and that gives them the kind of items to focus from risk-based approach, and every 3 or 5 years the external third parties or internal corporates come and do. So that's where the easy aspect is sometimes you overrate yourself and then the audits can really pull you down, which we will see in forthcoming slides, right? So it gives you a chance to self-discover items. This is where the EHS excellence comes in. So a smart EHS manager would be able to find out many issues and work with his team and close the corrective actions. Management system, so this gives if you are ISO 14,000, 45,000 or 9,000 certified, it gives you a good opportunity to work the management compliance and work corrective actions. Usually audits, what best benchmark is, you spend 1/3 of the time in the conference rooms and 2/3 of the time go and see. So show me, go and see is what the watchword, and then compile the results out of it. And there are in some entities there is special emphasis given to critical to life programs, like lockout, tagout, confined space, hazardous materials, elevated work, electrical safety, where the close attention is given and some special additional time is done, even to go in depth to be sure that practically there is no sample audit but exhaustive audits. And naturally audits trigger result for management to act. So what is the audit cycle? This slide kind of works. You need some kind of maturity in site. So that's where good organizations, what they do, they don't audit the site until 3 to 5 years. Like if you have bought a site, if you have built a new site, program takes time to mature. Despite emphasizing, so usually 3 to 5 years is a good time. You do a due diligence audit prior to commission, you do, and then you give site about good time to work it, and then you put your standards, policies, programs, set the benchmark, what are the requirements, and then you do the audit. So that's where so you are able to give site the breathing space and then work the audits and make it happen. So the usual audit cycle is work the standard plans, work the selections, measure the performance, and sustain improvements. Very similar to management systems of plan, do, check, act. On the bottom, the slide, the bottom part of the slide, you may wonder why audits cover so many things. People go through procedures. This is nothing but a root cause analysis. When we do it, we look it from people focus. We call it man, machine, method, Milo, and the 5th M is machine. So we look at it from the 5M perspective and see that's where this is the reason. So when you do a procedure or a program, we look at it from so many aspects. So this is where the exhaustive actions happen, and these are all tied to each standard and procedure. What is the audit's significance? That's what we call it as the governance process. So usually we audit is based on the what do you call as previous assessments, any other inputs that would have come to a facility from local authorities, requirements, norms, standards, codes, and then so we will have a base that as a database to see where the site performs, incidents, accidents, insurance audits. So then we work around this and see what corrective actions have been closed and where is the dashboard, and in terms of corrective actions, safety metrics, performance, key performance indicators, audit, internal audits versus as I said before, the site self-assessments. So these are all the pool that comes into the site to validate the external audits when we go and do from a risk-based approach, and then the audit findings are made and given it based on their previous slide, 35% documentation and 65% going and doing, and these audit reports are compiled and given to the executive boards and the chairman and others, so that very key highlights would be made so that the top leadership is aware of the auditing program is well and good. And I mean, this is what, the Bhopal was a key learning. I mean, if Bhopal had been audited and then, the results would have gone, maybe it would never have happened. I mean, so that's where the escalation of audit findings to leadership is a key aspect, and this is where the assurance letter, as we call it, so that each site assures and then it's escalated to role at country level, regional level, business level, so that every major aspects of audit findings are pushed up. Right? Very straightforward, saves lives, easier than incident investigation. Audits are mostly a proactive approach. It shows companies' commitment, open communication. I mean, in some of the best practicing organizations, the audit checklist is sent 3 months before, or you can go to their website and download and use it, and you make as though you can do the audit yourself and practice it so that you do well. I mean, idea is to catch you doing good, right, and succeed. Audits are no longer punishing or catch you doing something wrong. I mean, those days are gone. I mean, today in this competitive world, and excellence is the norm. You can't be, auditor part is just to enhance your value and not to go into the basics. I mean, then you will be, as I put in my previous presentations, pathological, reactive, proactive. So that generation ladder, you need to be somewhere beyond calculative to proactive. So you work around as though every day is an audit. That's what is I'm covering it in my future slides. Teamwork, trust and commitments, employee involvement is very essential. Right? So this is where you have to have a compliance aspect, behaviors, effectiveness. So, and main aspect here is taking ownership of audit results and closeout. I remember a very interesting case where there was a fatality at site, and when they did the agencies came and did the root cause analysis. This was in United States. Some of the recommendations for the same area, there were recommendations given 27 years back, and almost 3 to 4 recommendations over a period of 27 to 15 years had never been done. So that's where the smoking gun happens, and you need to really close those issues and work it out. So that's where audits can give you that, and the escalation process remains so that items are not open for many days. So there is also one more key difference between audit and assessments. I mean, I keep saying, this is where the from a legal standpoint, especially from United States, you really have to know the difference between audit and assessment. Audits are mandatory, binding, assessments are improvements, and audit documents can be called in court. It is subjected to the laws, and you need to really, if required, need to produce it to judiciary. There can't be waivers, whereas assessments are for your own improvements and benchmarking, so not binding. So that's where you really need to know what exactly you want. I mean, especially with the regulatory environment getting tougher and tougher, you need to really know exactly what you want. Not everything can be an audit, and then you shooting yourself in the foot if the purpose is for just doing the benchmarking and willing to know what is the best practices and then how we are going to go in that path. So I would say it's very essential. So the audit path and performance paths, this is what the audits covers: the programs, trainings, engagement. Also, that's where the 65% covers the behavior. When you go and watch in the shop floor, you will do the how people react and what are the what do you call as the behavior, conditions, culture, climate, compliance. So that's where 65% of the time is worked out, and performance path is linked to the auditing path. So what are all the scope? Audit scope is all the legal standards, law of the land. That's where it's very essential that you guy who does it has a clear understanding of the legal requirements and knows the updates. And what also is seen is, you have site procedures which are customized and worked. So the many times what I see is sites use the corporate procedures as the site procedures, which can lead to a lot of issues, because the corporate procedure is what the site procedures transfers to how. So we would expect to see all the procedures are customized, standards are customized to site level, so that it drills down to the next level and then work it. So that's one of the key aspects we see. And if we see that corporate procedures themselves are used, I think then we'll see a lot of red flag. So we also see at the insurance audits and consultants what they use. Checklist, of course we use checklist, but checklist is just a guidance. Sometimes the disadvantage with checklist is you immerse so much into it, like a horse with its eyes kind of covered, you may miss out. So that's where the auditor engagement is use checklist as a guiding document, but at the same time not get too much into it, and also the legal requirements. So you need to, as I said, work on it. In many companies, what happens is management system drives the process. So everything is linked to the management system. So ISO 14,000, OSHA's 18,000, and they drive the whole program. So that's where I am still kind of puzzled. Many organizations, reputed organizations, don't go for this, and they're really going to face the music. When you go at some level beyond compliance, you need a management systems. Many companies have realized it and have moved, and this is where the management system connects the overarching aspects to safety, sustainability, industrial hygiene, loss prevention, environment. So there is always that linkage, plan, do, check, act, and every procedure these days also are getting tighter and tighter with internal audits and compliance. So management system is the norm. Many organizations have even in their balance scorecard give you some ratings. If you have management system, your score is given as some numbers. So it gives you a calibration, as well as these kind of external certification audits and compliance audits can bring a third person to give an overview. So it gives you a chance to know what you do. So so everything ties to management system, as you will see. Why risk-based approach? This is very essential. This is this is from one of the material from a famous risk-based auditing author. You see in the bottom is all the control environment that organization has. Integrity, commitment to compliance, board of directors, annual compliance committees, philosophy, structure, and then it moves to communication and information based on risk-based approach, and then the control activities through policies and procedures and monitoring. So your complete auditing process works around this pyramid. This is the risk-based approach, and you also focus it based on more the bottom, you drill down, and as you move, escalate up and up, you kind of give a kind of overarching view, and it also works on various aspects like upwards, downwards, horizontal, departmental and external. So some clauses you would see across, some clauses you would see drill down from top to bottom, like structure and responsibility, for example, and sometimes upwards, the safety committee, how much is the lower level engagement. So each this kind of gives it, and based on the risk profile, so you would be able to get it and work the auditing program. So that will give an auditing structure, and you are able to kind of work the requirements. So this is one of the key aspects that you need to. So not every standard is focused equally. It's based on equal risk and what is the overarching aspect in that kind of business. So when you do an audit, what are all the aspects you focus? When you do risk, you are risking at people risk. People can get injured, health, absenteeism, discrimination. I mean, this is very workplace violence and harassment. I mean, today workplace violence is a big issue in part of safety. Management, commitment, involvement, leadership. Environment is about laws, regulations, local level, sustainability, biodiversity, climate change, the freon gas and those kind of stuff. Assets, part of loss prevention from the protocols which you saw. And cost, functionality, and reputation. How will you work at local level, regional level. So any incidents you have, you need to learn and then work out of it. So these are the kind of matrix at which a risk-based approach is done to each procedure, program and policy, and those drill down will happen and connect to audit findings. So as I said, the checklist exists. I mean, I am not listed out. There are about today as good as 65 standards which are there. This is at top level, then corporate level, then site level, and then drill down to procedures and work instructions and mission specific. Like if you have a lockout tagout, we would expect to have each mission should have a individual lockout tagout procedure. So that's where it is, and you will kind of focus on procedures is nothing but we call it as 5 W's and 1 H: what, where, when, who, why and how. So if you answer these 6 questions, you have a procedure, and try to attend these aspects in terms of these 65 standards, customizing it to your site. And the guidelines forms the basis of legal requirements, risk assessments, and your own corporate guidelines and norms. So sometimes I really feel sites struggling, but it's very easily can be done. And start with something. As I said, even in my previous presentations, don't wait for postponed perfections. Just hit on with it. Even if you get 70% right, that's better than no procedure and struggling. So that way people will know and what to do, what is expected, and procedures should also cover the consequences of deviations, what can go wrong and how will you address it. That's the forms the basis of risk assessments, and this would have worked on this. So as you do audits, how it happens, this is again a classic auditing process. Somewhere this is where a good auditor will know how to work it, because time is critical, constraints, and remember auditees can take their own time. I mean, you are linked to auditees, and if auditee drags you, your 4-day audits can go to 6 days, or you won't have time, and so the audit doesn't work. So this is where you need to really have a complete overarching view and work the details involved and be ready for it. So sometimes well prepared is a good aspect. That's where a good audit is all about getting previously only the site information, documents, procedures, all those things can be emailed to you or sent, hard copies can be sent, and you already have some idea so that you don't waste your time at the site, so that the synergy happens. And as I said, when you send the checklist, the site knows what to expect. So it's a two-way street. You save, auditors save auditees time, and auditees also save auditors time and work those papers. And then this the inverted hat goes around, and as you move the side days, the drill down increases, and then as you move up the terms of reference and what do you call as a detailed aspect will the audit reports need not be very detailed. So this is very essential aspect to keep in mind and work the time, right? So what are all the audit methodologies? Usually we do the management systems, as I said. We observe safety committee meetings. We observe, we participate in training. That's what show me communication. We do emergency drills. We also work on skip level meetings. We sit with employees without their managers to know the culture and engagement. One-on-one with about 10 people just to meet and spend what is that they feel as a part of audit. let's say we are doing machine guarding, so we'll talk to the operator, and and again, as I said, audits have no name, no blame, so nobody will know who was the person who was spoken. So just we may say the designation. So we also cover night shifts. That's very essential. Sometimes things look very great, but is it the same 24/7 evaporative effect? And so when we do it, as you saw, the lateral, horizontal, vertical, so we and drill up as needed. So if you talk to somebody and then you want more information, go up and talk to their supervisor or their boss's boss and get to satisfy yourself. I said checklist, but don't get drowned in checklist. Sampling methodology, sometimes, yes, you can't be doing 100% things verification, so that's where a good sampling size would help, and a good auditor over experience will pick it up. So that's where the manifest, records, MSDS, and emphasis on interviews and performance. So that's where you talk to people, talk to more people, go around, be visible on shop floor, as I said, 35%, 65%, and get a sense of what is it. There are so many non-verbal cues and vibes, and you can pick it up and then able to link it, and with your audit team you will be able to exchange notes and see and work around that. Usually 2 to 3 auditors. This varies. If it's a big site, it can be 3, 4, depends. Usually 2 days, and auditors would be like kind of health, safety, industrial hygiene, PSM, Oxel, Ashbury, and other is environmental management systems and responsible care expertise, so that you are able to synergize and work around it. Sometimes if you need a third person be one of the two, depending on the risk and complexity of the operations of such sites. But usually 2 auditors for 3 to 4 days, depending on this. Normal chemical industry or engineering industry will need about 8 man days or so, and about 2 days of offsite. So a typical audit process can be about 10 to 12 days. But as I said, this is just I'm giving an indication. Sites, big sites can have a different number. So how the audit happens? As I said, well before, we send the document, site profile, even a month before, and so that the auditors can prepare. And on the day of the audit, there will be an opening meeting. So it'll last about an hour, and introduction to the audits. That's where the auditors will say what are the expectations, how this will happen. Site will do their own presentation, because auditor is a new guy, so sites will make their presentation, initial walkthrough for about 2 to 3 hours, go through it on day 1. So theoretically, if you see, you are already spending more time in the shop floor. Then again, as I said, audits of standards, interviews, talk to people, as I said, and daily there will be a closeout meeting. First day there may not be, because we are gathering data. Second and third day, usually we will have a evening closeout meeting for about 30 minutes, giving a quick overview of what we found, so that the sites, the idea, as I said, is to make sites succeed. So if you are able to close things, and point out the things that the auditor has assumed and correct it, then the findings don't go. So idea is to encourage sites to do well. We want sites to succeed. Audit is value add, so you will work around it and close it as soon as possible. Sometimes it could be just a minor things, so you can close it and work out the visible evidences. And we work the draft report on the 4th day or the 3rd day evening, and as required, and we hand over the draft report and go, so that we don't want to carry, so that sometimes the closing meeting can go well late into on the 4th day evening, 7 or 8 p.m. so that once we are out, we are also out, and you also know what it is. So 90% of the draft report turns into final reports. That's what the formal final report comes is in 10 working days, and no major structural revisions allowed post closeout. We don't usually encourage unless there is a significant deviation we have made or site has made. So usually the draft report is then it will be a PowerPoint, but we will write it so that the essence of the audit is covered, and the report will cover the evidences and details. So how the audit scoring happens? I mean, as I said, what gets measured gets done. So that every standard is scored, and then there are weightages for each percentage. Safety 20%, environment 20%, varies from company to company. Industrial hygiene 15%, occupational medicine 20%, management systems 15%, depends. So that each standard is then those standards are rated for 20% scores, and all are added up to 100%. So that's where the ratings are 0 to 4. And the usual norm is if we rate a site as 0, 1 or 2, we give recommendations. We will give recommendations, and sites have to work. So if it is a 3 or a 4, recommendations are optional. Still the auditor feels that the team of auditors feel that recommendation need to be given, it's given. And what happens in some organizations is critical to life standards, we call it zero fatality programs, where lotto, confined space, elevated work, machine guarding, some of the key legal requirements, process safety, hazardous material, then the rating is either 1 or a 4. So if we find you 3, you are a 1 only. If you find a 3.8, still it can be 1. I mean, it's up to the auditors to convince how good the site has performed. So that's where the scores can be pulled down, because these things can kill a person. Idea we are here is to protect people. So some 7 or 8 or 10 standards, even if you score a 89, it's just below 65. So we and then if you see this bottom, 0 is absent, 1 is some score. You score a 65% of requirements, then only you get a 2. So it's not 50%, but 65th percentage. Many companies even have this at 75. So you score a 75, then only you are a 2. Then between 75 and 99, you are a 3, and you need to have 100. 100 is when you are able to show records of proof of implementation for 3 to 5 years. So if you are an old site, say with 10 years, we will go back to your records for 3 to 5 years and see whether the same consistency is there. And if you are able to see you did what you did same way for the last 3 to 5 years, we will give you a 4. So this is where the ratings come, and then still you have to score an 80 to be a a superstar site. So this is where past performance counts, and people have to all engage. It doesn't happen with one man. That's where the standard owners and standard sponsors come, and everybody takes ownership. This is where I said, I mean, you see here the site, the pink color is what the site rated themselves on a scale of 0 to 5, and the red color is what the external auditors came and assessed the site. See the difference. See, so this can be a career killer for EHS personals. You rate yourself. I agree that EHS persons will depute to somebody and then they own it. But if the EHS person is not competent, then this is what is expected. Or the sites overrate themselves to prove that they are good. Internal pressure, culture, so that they rate themselves a 5 and an auditor comes and rates them a 2, and then there is always heartburns, and it goes all the way up, and sometimes it can be a career limiting aspect. So be very conservative in your assessments. Look for audits to learn from audits. Don't try to these kind of differences are very, very frowned upon in companies. So try to what we call very good organizations, or if you see some stock prices of some of the world class organizations, they always under promise and over deliver. They will tell to their investors, you will get $1.1 per share, but at the end of the year they give 1.4. So but every time they deliver, and that's what it is. So always under promise and over deliver. It's good to do that. Be very conservative. Work your own internal metrics and benchmark. When you will rate yourself, don't be exciting to prove that you are good. You will not be. So this is very essential to underplay. So once you do the risk-based audits, you will get the heat map. What is heat map? This is what the quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So in terms of compliance, legal assessments, and risks. So let us say in India, if you take hazardous chemical rules, if you have some findings that are very serious, you don't have good process management or unloading procedures for, say, ethylene oxide, that is a high risk with high compliance. So that will form in quadrant 4. And whereas if we have just some drinking water, one norm is not meeting, then it will be in quadrant 1. So that's where, so then the risk based approach comes in, how you are complying on the high risk operations, medium risk operations, in terms of compliance, the laws of the land, the company standard protocols. So so these kind of things, and you then work it. And the typical distribution in a site of audit findings is figure 2, expected leaf arrangement. So 80 to 90% would be low and medium, hardly 10% would be in, and also maybe 1 or 2 you can easily work out. So this is how a distribution should work. So if you don't have any high risk, nothing like it, but but still for your risk operations with a focus on the severity, you will make it. So when you do audit findings, and then how the corrective actions or audit findings would work from a compliance factor, whether you are fully in compliance to non-compliance, that's the range. Based on those ratings, the factors will go in. And risk factor to business reputation, from very high to negligible. Some events can be very high. It can have a catastrophic impact on your business reputation. Sometimes it could be nothing. System factor, whether your systems are all matured on a scale, learning, evolving, matured, fully matured, so are absent, so that immature, absent. So, and then cost to comply, high investment, long return on investments to negligible investment. So when we presented these all things, come and see how the value add happens. You do audits, not only the risk portfolios are given, even cost portfolios are given to companies, so that hey, this factor will need lot of money, so I need to escalate it and take it in the next budget and prove that this comes out of the audit findings, and so compliance will go to the board and I need to get the findings, and corrective actions need to be worked out of it. As I said before in my previous presentations, some of the corrective actions which may take more than 6 months, the sites are excused. Sites no longer own the responsibility. It is up to the business to get those recommendations approved and get the funding for them. Okay, last slide I think. Audit preparations. How do you do it? Don't make audit a Christmas event. I call it Mark Hartzman's Christmas rule. Christmas comes once a year, so you don't know for 350 days, and suddenly 10 days before Christmas you prepare, and then you are so much engaged, Christmas is gone. So make audit a kind of a participative event, so that you are ready every day and work through, split it, start preparing 1 year before and work the plans. Well laid plans can lead to excellent results. As I said, prepare, practice. That's where the self-assessments, if you do, and then you calibrate, sometimes we even see sites scoring themselves lower than audit scores. We had a site in Spain where they rated themselves 55 and auditors gave them 65. That's one of the very rares. Usually, it's the other way. So it's very great to, prove that auditors overestimate you. That's a good feel. Always see audits as a phase for improvements, and keep evidences ready. Good companies always prepare well for audits. They keep every document ready, all within foot reach, and if you are not shown, it's assumed that you have not done. You might, like our business, our college degree. If you forgot, if you have missed your college degree, you are a guy without degree. Your credentials are zero. And what we have always seen is, if we can't take out in 7 minutes, usually 90% of the time it never comes. 7 minutes, like fire or like first aid. If you can't control it in 7 minutes, it doesn't happen. So if you are not able to show us within 7 minutes what we ask, then you are struggling. So maybe your documentation is not good, your filing is not good, somebody doesn't know. So that's where then the whole system collapses, and I mean, there are always exceptions. I mean, as I say, but 90% of the times you can't take out in 7 minutes, you won't. And the red one is very critical. Repeat findings are disaster. That can limit a career, and site can be really, have a consequence, performance issue. We look, we don't mind hundreds of findings, but if even 2 are repeat, that shows a poor control in site. So watch out for that. Recurrence findings are okay. Sometimes what happens is parameters would have varied, so it recurs, but repeat is not acceptable. So just make sure that your previous audits or visits, anything is closed, and ensure that that doesn't become a repeat potential finding again. So that shows poorly on sites. As I said, keep subject matter experts, spread ownership. Not one guy can manage. It needs to be really, when you have 75 procedures, one man cannot do it. So even one function cannot do it. It needs to extend beyond, and that's where you will be able to take the ownership, and subject matter experts participate and give answers to auditors, which satisfies and shows the culture and maturity. Housekeeping is very essential, gentlemen. I mean, as I said, 90% of the time we take the site walk on day 1, and as we finish, we auditors judge the score. This site will be 65, this site will be 45, this site will be 70. And believe me, 4th day evening, our audit scores will be more or less the same. If we rated 65, it may be 70 or 60. It will never happen that if we rated a site as 45 in housekeeping, it became a site overall score as 70. Never happened. Housekeeping is what mirrors the site's culture, process, programs. So work on housekeeping, and then that's where it covers everything. Housekeeping is a place for everything, and everything is its place. Expected the unexpected, Murphy's law. We have seen so many times on the day of the audit, everything data will be in server, the server crashes. Or everything would have been clean, the rains, cats and dogs, and everything, the colors or chemicals or spills and stormwater drain is flooded. So such where auditors luck or auditors curse, so things come out. So just be ready, expect the unexpected. And what we also see is smart auditees at facility are turning out to world-class auditors. They make auditors just eat out of their hands. Some of the audits, we go, guys give everything at moment's notice, take it out, give it, read it, then they make us immersed that they are doing something else. So so that's where it's auditor's dream. And then what happens if everything goes smooth? Sometimes 4-day audits can be finished in 3 days, and you also want to finish and go back, right? You don't want to stay more than what is needed, and they also sites get back the time. So very good preparation can make wonderful. And then it gives a goodwill. Sometimes even if you are little here and there, the goodwill carries. Sometimes you score in lockout tagout you score 3.8, but everything is nice. So we may recommend, okay, these guys are good, their intention and spirit is good, let's give them a 4 instead of giving a 1. So 3.8 in lockout tagout can be a 1 because 2 and 3 are not given as rating. So if they are doing well, if they save time, if the spirit and culture and engagement, involvement, a 3.8 can be given as a 4, practically. So that's where it's makes good auditees with good preparations can work it out. And logistics, critical workout plan B for everything. As I said, fog, rain, delays, food. Sometimes I go all over the world where I am a vegetarian, so sometimes in some parts of the world vegetarian food can be very tricky, and so and they struggle, and sometimes if I am hungry, then the mood swings happen. We are human being, let's be honest. So work plan B for everything, and have backup plans in place. That's what I had in time. So I think this is all my practical hands-on experience, and I hope it's useful. Auditing is a very great tool. It gives both auditors as well as auditees a phenomenal experience. We have learned a lot. Some of the sites we have gone, it really made us wiser. I mean, some of the best practices we have seen. I mean, some sites go above and beyond to do the call of requirements, and we then learn it and then put it to as our best practices. So it's a wonderful experience. So I am very thankful to folks for having listened. Please feel free to give your thoughts, comments, inputs, and also the topics you want me to cover. I mean, I'm covering it, most of it based on what has come, but more it comes, then I can be sure that this is the requirement, and people would be feeling the value add. So I'm thankful to you for your time, and have a great evening. God bless.